Okay. Good evening, folks. We're gonna attack Aeschylus' Agamemnon tonight. The first 10 lines, take it easy. We're gonna begin with a vocabulary review and then look at some of the structures of the passage and then read the passage itself. I don't want to, normally I would read the passage itself before we did anything, but I want to really put the emphasis today on just looking at the vocabulary and getting people with the vocabulary up and running, because I think a lot of times we attack passages without having secured the vocabulary, and that creates a lot more mystification. We come to it with the assumption that Greek word order is so weird that it can't be understood as it gets read. Whereas I think that if you do have your vocabulary down and are aware of the constructions, as I hope to prepare people, do that preliminary work, it actually is clearer than it you might expect. Now, of course, we're talking about Agamemnon, Aeschylus, who is one of the most difficult and perplexing Greek authors. So, but this was just the beginning of it. It's not like it's a course or anything. When we get to that, well, then all hell will break loose, and all holds will be barred. No holds barred. But tonight I think we can show that this isn't quite as mysterious as people might think it is. So let me announce, as I always do, Detroit Greek and Latin is a registered 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to bringing high-level classics instruction to people who normally wouldn't be able to access it here in Detroit and elsewhere. And so we appreciate your financial support. You can go to our website and give a contribution if you'd like. And with that, I'll just, no further ado. So let me bring up our vocabulary list. So do people see this?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So see if I can get the top thing to disappear. Oh, I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, so I'll just go through the vocabulary. I'll repeat. I'll recite or just say the Greek and then the English afterwards, and allow people to. What I would recommend if you're a beginner is that when I say theos, and theos, of course, is the accusative of theoi, gods. It's funny that I didn't put that down, but so theos men, this particle men, that's the second word in our passage. We have a little comment on it. Well, there are signs of a tendency, at least in certain authors, to open a work or part of the work with men, with or without an express or implied antithesis, which, as we know, is usually de, perhaps in order to mitigate the harshness of the inevitable ascendanton. Okay, and then this is from, this quote is from Denniston, page 382. Baumlein, who alone, I think, has said anything on the matter, observes that Aeschylus and Sophocles show a liking for men openings, but the observation is justified in the case of Aeschylus alone, according to Denniston. So this is called so-called men solitarium. So, and then aiteo is to beg or to pray. And please, I hope you're not distracted by the Latin definitions. I just happen to own Itali's lexicon of Aeschylus, and he has the Latin definitions, so it's just fun to put them there. Okay, apolage, which is liberation, liberatio, respite or relief. Okay, ponos, labor, a job or an unpleasant task. Pura, looking out, a watch or a guard. Okay. Eteos, which is year long. Mekos, in length. and here it will be used adverbially, but we'll say something more about that. Koima omai, to lie awake. Stege, a rooftop or a house. Ankaten, this can be either the head between the elbows, with a head between the elbows, as Frankel would have it, or up above, as Denniston and Page will have it. We'll get to that when we get to the translation. I kind of side with Frankel here. Kuon, kunos, which is a dog. Decane, which we'll see with a genitive. Decane kunos is going to be our actual expression after the manner of an adverbial accusative. And dk, of course, is law, right, trial, or penalty. Okay. Astra, ta astra, the heavenly bodies. Katoida, to observe. Katoida, to observe. Nukteros, of the night, nocturnal. Homegarus, which is an assembly, meeting, or company. Perho, to bring. Kema, kematos, winter weather, frost or cold. And we see that's related to kion, the word for snow, and kemonos, which is winter-like weather or storm. Tehos, which is summer time or summer, and brotos, which is a very tragic word for mortal, and lampros, shining. Okay. Dunastes is a lord, a master, or ruler. Aeteros is the ether, the upper air. Theno is to wane. Tino, to wane. Antole is a rising, the rising. And we'll see that in this very, in this construction that upsets a lot of people, we're going to see ton, the article, as a demonstrative. And then kainun, and so now, and our little note, kainun introduces the application of the general idea to the circumstances of the moment. Okay. Lampados, which is a torch. Sumbalon, which is a token or agreed sign. Auge, which is splendor in Latin, gleam. Puros, fire. Batis, word or report. Halosemos, signifying capture, or of capture, from haliskomai, which means to capture. And so we're going to have basdis halosemos, which means tidings of capture. Okay, boxis. Okay, what did I do here? It's basdis. I'm not sure. Hold on. Just for a second.
You want to exceed, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yep. Yep, I want to exceed.
And also in the previous entry.
Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, I got to switch to my Greek keyboard. What happens when you wake up from a nap? You forget how your Greek keyboard works. Nope. Oh, there it is. Okay. So boxes is a rumor report like pay me. Okay. Hoda, thus, gune gunaikos, women, ke to, a heart, and androbulos, um, uh, I put the Latin but not the English, virilia concilia moliens, working up a manly plan. Okay. So I expect or suggest that people who are not familiar with that vocabulary work through it one more time. So I'm just myself going to read through it just for the fun of it one more time without the definitions. Okay. Deus aiteo apalage phonos drura eteos megos koimaomai tege ankaten kuon hikain astra katoida nukteros homegrus terho kema terhos rotos lambros dunastes aiter thino antole kainun lampas symbolon auge puros pates halosemos boxes hode gune gunaikos ter androbulos. Okay, and excuse my pronunciation. I wish I was Mark Griffith. Anyways, so that's our basic vocabulary. But and so I have this note because that I think will make demystify matters quite a bit. Okay, so I say note one: the Agamemnon opens with a torrent of expressions set in apposition. Okay, and this is what Franco has to say about this in his commentary. Quote, the use of apposition, and for people who are beginners, apposition is just setting a descriptive expression right after a word, a noun to amplify it. So, Pericles, the general of the Greeks, the Athenian, the general of the Athenians, general of Athenians is an apposition to Pericles and explains it. So the use of apposition to elaborate or intensify a detail of a preceding statement is a favorite device of Aeschylus. And it seems to be especially characteristic of the Watchman's speech. Drop by drop, one by one, ideas and images form in his weary head, and as they come, he gives them utterance, advancing to clearer and more forceful expression of his experience. Okay. Now, among these expressions set in apposition, a single construction dominates, as we'll see. An accusative substantive modified by a genitive substantive. Okay. In the first 10 lines of the Watchman's speech, this construction occurs, I think it's 5 or 7. Anyways, I corrected it later. And I say here, the Latin grammarians, Bennett and Gildersleeve do a really good job of describing this character that the genitive has. Bennett just says simply, a noun used to complete the meaning of another noun is put in the genitive, okay, which is a deceptively simple conception, but it goes a long, long way as a beautiful general explanation of what the genitive so often does. And then Gildersleeve a little more fully, and I've tucked a little bit of Bennett's remark inside to just see how to the degree that we Obviously says the genitive case is the case of the complement. And I say, i.e., going back to Bennett, is used to complete the meaning of another noun, in parentheses, and is akin to the adjective with which it is often parallel. It is the substantive form of a specific characteristic. Okay? So, and then I did correct that. There are 6 such constructions in the first 11 lines of the poem. Okay? And here we'll look at them so that we can all get them kind of in our minds. And then that having these together, having these in our mind as units will greatly facilitate us understanding what's actually going on. So the first one in line is Purhas eteas mekos. Purhas eteas mekos. And here, like I said in the vocabulary above, this mekos is actually adverbial. So, and this of course, God, I was confused for a second. Mekos is actually accusative. So in an adverbial accusative, in length, in length of a year's watch in length. Okay, so length of a year's watch. Puras eteas mekos. I'm giggling because this becomes untranslatable very quickly. But if you see what's going on, it makes perfect sense. A watch, year long, with respect to length. So a length of a watch of a year's length. That's what it boils down to. Thank God, kunos decane is a little more straightforward. Okay, like I say, decane means after the manner of, kunos, so literally like a dog or just like a dog. Kunos decane. And kunos, of course, is the genitive, and decane is an accusative. Okay, and then our next one is astron nukteron homegurin. An assembly of night stars. Okay, the gathering, the collective gathering of the night stars. Astron, nukteron, homegurin. Okay. The next one, line 8, is lampados to symbolon, and a symbolon is an agreed signal, and you note that we have the definite article. So this is a particular agreed symbol, agreed upon symbol. Agreed upon sign. Okay. The particular article denotes individual persons or things as distinguished from others of the same kind, including objects well known, objects already mentioned, or in the mind of the speaker or audience. Okay, so this is not just us, this is a particular symbol of a torch that they're looking for. Okay, and then Algain Peros, a gleam of fire, a gleam of fire. And then the last one, the boldest one. But well, no, this is actually quite common. This use of ke'ar, heart with the genitive to just refer to a person. So gunaikos ke'ar. It's a fancy way of referring to a human being. So if you look up ke'ar in your dictionary, you'll see that with the genitive, it's just a fancy way of referring to a person. And of course, our person here is Clytemnestra. So let's look at those expressions again, and then we'll move right to the passage. I'm sorry. Here we go. So, furas eteas mekos, kunos decane, just like a dog. Astron nukteron homegurin, a gathering of night stars. Lampados to symbolon, the agreed upon symbol of a torch. Algain puros, gleam of fire, and gunaikos ke'ar. head of a woman or heart of a woman, heart of a woman. Okay. 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 So that's our vocabulary, and those are our accusative genitive combinations. And so here's the thing itself. Okay. So this is the beginning of, again, the Agamemnon opens with this watchman who is imagined, at least by Franco, as literally being on top of a roof, the house of Agamemnon and Menelaus, who in this play are imagined as living in the same compound. Okay, so Deus men aito ton dapalagen ponon puras eteas mekos hein koiomenos stegais athredon ankaten kunos dikein astron katoida nukteron homeguren kai tus ferontes kema kaiteros brotois lamprus dunastas imprepontas aiteri asteras otan denosen antolas teton kai nun pulaso lampados ton sumbalon augen peros perusan ektroias paten halosemonte baxen hodega krate gunaikos andro bulon el bizdon kea. Okay, so I'll read it again one more time. It's very short, so we'll just do it twice, and then we'll start. Then we'll take it apart, phrase by phrase. And the double bars in the middle of the lines of the scansion, guys, mark the caesura. And for people who aren't familiar with iambic trimeter, this little thing here, the first, you have three of these where the first one, I mean, all of them are ANCAPs, are ANCAPs, but, oh God, no, I messed myself up. All of them are ANCAPs, so you see the first syllable in the first line is short, but in the second one it's long. Okay, so it can go either way, but then it's followed by a long, short, long. And then again, an ANCAPs and a long, short, long. And then finally another ANCAPs and long, short, long. Okay, and so, and the caesura can fall in one of two places. Next time we meet, I'll go more into the specifics of the line because I didn't really prepare that. But I want people to just understand that the caesura is this double, I've marked as this double line. And to appreciate as we read, how much good you do yourself if you do scan your lines before you read them, because they do, even in these rather complex trimeters, they do mark real pauses and are key to taking apart the syntax. So, Deus men aito ton dapalagen ponon, puras eteas mekos hein koiomenos stegais athredon ankanten kunos dikein astron katoida nukteron homeguren. Kai tus ferontas kema kai teros protois lamprus dynastas empemprontas aiteri asteras hotan denosen antolas teton. Kai nun pulaso lampados to sumbalon augen peros perusan ektroias paten alosente baxen hodega krate gunaikas andro bulon el dizdon kea. Okay, so as clear as an unmuddied lake, as they would say. So here we go. Theus men aito. Theus men aito. So the gods, and then here we have this men solitarium. There's not going to be a de to pick up it. It's just to soften the opening. I beg the gods. Theus men aito. And what does he beg? He begs this accusative apalagen. Apalagen ton ponon. Okay, and that's really funny. See, I even missed it because this is that same construction I was talking about. A release from these, okay, the tone that here is the you know, that immediate that immediate demonstrative. So, you know, these toils that I have right here. So even here we have an eighth, and I just missed it, accusative modified by the genitive with the complementary genitive. So a release from these toils. Okay, so I theus menaito ton dapalagen tonon. Okay, and then in opposition to ton de ponon, he actually spells out furas eteas mekos, furas eteas mekos. Okay, so his toils have gone on for the length, or they, sorry, excuse me, guys. They're constituted by in they have gone on for the length of a year's watch. Hain koiomenos, which, and the hain here is of course an accusative feminine relative, which is referring back to furas as its antecedent. So the watch, and here, okay, here I'm a little, God, you look at this, you think about this stuff and you think you understand it, and then it like throws you. It's not as clear as you'd like it to be, because I'm almost wanting to go furas eteas mekos. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it, guys. Which I have been, you know, during which I've been lying awake. Okay, so koiomenos is singular masculine participle referring to the subject of ito. So I beg, lying awake here, you know, I beg this release of these toils in length of a year's watch, which I've been lying awake experiencing. And stegais, date of a place where, stegais athredon ankaten, okay, on the roofs of the sons of Atreus, athredon, ankaten kunos dikain. And like I said in our vocabulary, Danston and Page wants ankaten to mean up above, but Frankel has a long note arguing that's actually kind of the way you would, if you were lying, you know, we all lie. If you're lying sometimes with your, you can imagine lying like a dog lies with your head on your arms. And so if people want to see the arguments, I just refer them to Frankel's commentary. Okay, kunos dikain, in the fashion of a dog. Okay. Astron katoi da nukteron ho meguren. So here's our next, the gathering of stars of the night, katoida. Okay. I have seen, or I watch. Okay. And oida, we all remember, is a perfect form of present meaning. Okay. Go back to my real keyboard. Okay, good. So, okay. So I watch the assembly Astron Nukteron of the night stars, and I watch Kai tus ferontas kema kai teros protois lambros dunastas. So here we actually have an enjambment. The line, the sense carries on, and I'm watching the the ruling lights, the ones that bring winter and summer, brotois, two mortals. So what's he watching? First, he's watching the overall assembly of the stars, but in particular, the master stars, the master heavenly bodies, the ones that actually theruntas, that are bringing winter and summer to mortals. Okay, and these dynastas, and also the stars, of course, but I think it's the dynastas in particular, the more significant constellations, imprepontas iteri, asteras. And so this is an apposition to those. These especially conspicuous stars in the high heavens. Imprepontas iteri asteras. Okay. And I watch, because he's been up there for, he's been up there for a year or so. Hotan denosen antolas teton. Whenever they wane into, disappear on the horizon. And, okay. Antolais, okay. Again, always beware when you copy a text off the internet. It's often going to disagree with what your more accomplished editors come up with, because here, this is supposed to actually be a dative, as I remember. So let me get it straight. Give me 1 second, guys. Keyboard. Antolai steton, okay? And this
That's not what's printed in Frankel.
Yes, with the dative, that's how Frankel prints it. Oh no, that's how Destin and Page print it. How does Frankel print it?
Frankel has the line bracketed and prints it as antolas, the way you had it originally.
Oh, okay, that's my confusion then. Okay, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay, so Denniston and Page print the dative, and Frankel prints the accusative. That's what you're telling me?
Well, I don't have Denniston in front of me. I have Frankel in front of me, and Denniston prints with the antolas.
Okay, I have Denniston in front of me, so that's the I have Denniston and Page in front of me, and now I'm getting to Frankel's commentary. We're looking at line 8, line 7. Sorry. Okay, so he goes on in his commentary about this line for something like 4 pages. And let me just look for a second to see if I can just find exactly where he makes the argument for his accusative. Okay, I'm not coming up with anything specific. Of course, he doesn't even mention the dative alternative. He starts off his note mentioning how this line's been rejected by, the line has been attacked with false arguments at various times. so that we may sympathize with Haussmann in his attempt to rescue the victim of persecution, blah, 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 blah. Against the rejection of this line, Haussmann argues that, quote, the Aeschylean archaism tone never came from the workshop of an interpolator, okay? To speak of an Aeschylean archaism is wrong, for the anaphoric use of the so-called article is often found in later tragedy as well. Pasquale in his defense. So our main problem is this last little bit, antolais teton or antolas teton, whichever one we want to follow. So let's stay with Professor Frankel. And
You want an alpha with an acute.
I need an acute there.
You need an alpha with an acute, yeah.
Okay, good. That was. Okay. Antolas teton. Okay. So he wants. Yeah, he doesn't feel that there's really a need to explain the accusative so much as, but Denniston and Page, they want to go with the dative because he's saying, I know the stars, I view the stars when they rise and by their risings. Hold on, let's see what they say. Okay, here we go. Okay, good. Their note's a little more compact than Frankel's. There are difficulties here which are most commonly solved by removing the line from the text. This seems a desperate remedy since no one can give a plausible reason why such a line should have been added. Indeed, the theory of interpolation is practically ruled out by the language. An interpolator wishing to say whensoever they set or rise would probably have written dunosen or thenosen and antelosite for the rest. So he's saying he would have stayed with just two using two finite verbs. He would certainly, this interpolator would most certainly have not ended his phrase with the definite article ton used as a demonstrative pronoun equals auton, the risings of them, okay? Against these considerations, we have set certain objections to the word asteros, okay? So asteros, the first word of the line here. Dennis and Page going to say, number one, it seems weak and repetitive, especially after the powerful lam prus dunastas, up above, okay? The force of this objection, in itself not very great, is further reduced by the numerous parallel examples of this trick of style adduced by Headlam Thompson from Aeschylus, okay? So second, number two, it is contrary to Aeschylus's practice to begin an iambic primatur with a word of dactylic scansion, okay, asteros. An abnormality of this type may be thought to weigh lightly in the scales. So they reject that as well and mention a couple of examples, okay? And then finally, they say the beginning of a line in this position is now attested by a papyrus text of the 2nd century AD. This means that the line already existed in the Alexandrian edition of Aeschylus, and though there remains a possibility that an interpolation of the kind in question here might have established itself securely in the standard text before the era of Alexandrian scholarship, our first duty must be to inquire what meaning the great scholars of the 3rd and 2nd centuries BC attached to the text that they published, okay? So, if the text is substantially correct, its interpretation must start from the following points. Number one, as Frankel puts it, hotan thenosen, okay, hotan thenosen, cannot stand in an indirect question, but can only mean whensoever they appear. So whensoever they appear. The sentence provides only one possible antecedent to hotan thenosen, namely, tus pherontas kema kai theros, okay? The ones that are bringing winter and summer to mortals, okay? The stars which bring winter and summer, whensoever they set or rise. These are especially the Pleiades, but other stars, Arcturus and Sirius, may be and probably are included here. To this, it has been fairly objected that the separation of the governing clause, tus protois and tus dynastas, from the governed, hotan thenosen, by an additional descriptive phrase, and prepontas asteros or lamprus asteros, is abnormal and displeasing. Indeed, it is so. But it is what our manuscripts offer, and we have no alternative but either to tolerate it or to find a better solution than the removal of the line from the text. It is by no means certain that anything is fatally amiss until we come to antolos teton. Here we must face the fact that since hotan thenosen and what follows must depend on tus pherontas kema kateros, the accusative antolos is unintelligible. Whensoever they fade or rise might be expressed in the form hotan thenosen antolais teton, whensoever they fade and by their risings. So that's how Denniston and Page want to take it. Whensoever they fade and by their risings. So that's their data, okay? But an accusative, antolaste, would be utterly inexplicable, okay? So they just reject, they just consider the accusative to be utterly inexplicable, although Franco did not find it so. Okay, why the poet wrote antolaisteton instead of antolaiste is impossible to guess and may be vain to inquire. We can only be certain that an interpolator would not have written it so. Okay, so I actually didn't, I think I've never really even thought of trying to figure out how this accusative antolos might work, because I've always just had the antolaisteton in my head. But like I say, you have critics, readers who wanted to totally get rid of the line, but most people do print it, and indeed.
Can't we just take it as a direct object of katoida? I mean that he's obviously he switches construction in that line. What is it? Lines. Your numbers are funny. I can't. Whatever that line is, that's excised.
I think it's number 8.
Okay, line 8. Okay, so that so I've been watching all these stars, the potentates, and the ones shining forth. Whenever they wane, and then instead of continuing that construction, it just goes back and I watch their setting.
Yeah,
I watch their rising. The Anatolia, of course, is rising.
Yeah, I think you're right. He breaks up the series of, I guess, almost. So let's just look back at it to be a little. I mean, it's just such a short passage. So Katoida, he's looking, and what's he seeing? He's seeing first the assembly of the stars, and then he's seeing those that bear the seasons, and then you have this Dynastas Lamprus, the master stars, shining conspicuously in the sky. These stars, and this is why Denniston and Page said just the repeat of Asteros in line 8 at beginning seems a little flat, but hotan thenosi antolos teton. So we see the Asteros and the risings of them when they die, and the risings of them. Yeah, it's tricky, but I agree that if you're gonna understand it, it has to just be one of this complex of direct objects of katoida. Okay, I see the risings of these stars. I see them shining, and whenever they wane. Yeah, it's definitely tricky. Okay, I'm not gonna understate it. So to continue, kainun pulaso lampados to sumbolon. Okay, algain puros perusan ektroias paten alo semonte baxen odega krate gunakais androbulon el dizdon gea. Okay, and now, right here and now, pulaso, I am watching, waiting, watching, looking out for that agreed symbol of a lamp, of a flame, okay? And then in apposition, the gleam of fire, and what will that gleam be doing? It's going to be bringing report ex Troias from Troy, okay, and Halisimon Boxen, and and the message relating to capture, okay, and so let's see if we can just unravel that a little bit more. So just straightforward, I'm watching the agreed symbol of a lamp, and then in apposition, a gleam of fire. And what gleam in particular? The one that is to bring from Troy word and the report of capture. Halosemon te baxen. Okay? And then Hodega krate gunaikos andro bulon el bizdon kea. Hodega krate gunaikos andro bulon el bizdon kea. So thus, for thus, Gar always gives the reading of the reason for the preceding statement, or very often it does. So for thus, hode prate, so does, strictly speaking, they want to say that this doesn't mean so that she ordered, but this is the way she's ruling. This is the way she's laid down how things should be, okay? And who's the subject of the krate? It's this gunaikos andro balon el bizdon kr. So, and Denston and Page just spell this out. A woman's manly, purposed heart expectant is how they want to do it. Gunaikos androbolon el pizdon kr. Now, so the way they read this is they read it so androbolon is simply an adjective modifying kr before you get the gunaikos. So the manly purposed heart of a woman, and kr is neuter, so you're going to have el pizdon, the neuter participle. But some people, I think, print the masculine. Let me just double check to make sure I'm honoring. Yeah, Franco prints the neuter, and I'm going to double check and see what Destin and Page do, and they do the same. Okay, so so that's how Destin and Page want to unwrap it. A woman's manly purposed heart expectant. Okay, so basically, all of these, both the participle and this compound adjective androbulon, are just modifying the heart of the woman. Okay? Now, Franco then goes on to admit that, and he wants to read basically the same way, that el pizdon is used without an object. Used without an object is, of course, uncommon. Okay? And I don't know, I hate to differ with these great minds who, these philologists who I can't hold a candle to, but to me it reads more naturally, I dare to say, if you take androbulon as simply a cognate accusative with el pizdon, okay? Gunaikos androbulon elpis don kear. So I would read it such as something like the heart of a woman hoping for, reaching for a man's plan. Androbulon, an androbulon thing. This thing that's actually you'd associate with a man. Now, I'm not going to go into any real defense of this. I mean, that's just the way it makes better sense to me. But I will note, the opening of the Aeneid and what Smythe said about it. He says, you have Main and Aida, where the Iliad opens with this idea: sing what? Sing wrath. Okay. And Denniston, Smythe has the note saying that in poetry, and this is you'll find this at 1570E. In poetry, the use of a substantive to denote the special form of the action of the verb is much extended. Okay, and so I want to take this as that type of use, where what she hoping. This is telling you what she's hoping, and then you aren't left with el pis don not having an object, because it's just heart of a woman, who is hoping this man's plan, to carry forth this man's plan. She orders it thus. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to stand up and say I'm right and Franco and Dennison and Page are wrong, but I'm just saying that's the way it reads to me. I don't see any reason why you have to take it that way and leave el pis don hanging without having an object when androbulon, el pis don androbulon seem to me make perfect sense. Okay, but like I said, I'm not gonna beat it dead, but that's the way I read it. The heart of a woman hoping for, to enact a man's plan. Okay, thus does she order me to keep this lookout. Okay, so I'll go back to the top and read it one more time. And I wish more people had joined us so we could get a few more questions. But we'll read it one more time, and I'll allow my mystery interlocutor to propose a question if she would like, and then we'll shut it down. Okay. So Deus men aito ton dapalagen ponon. Fruras eteas mekos hein koyomenos. Stegai satre don ankaten kunos tiken. Astron katoida nupteron omeguren. Kaitus ferontas kema. Kaiteros protois. Lam prustunastas. Prepontas aiteri asteras, hotan denosen antolaste ton. Kainun pulaso lampados to sumbolon, augen peros perusan, ekthorias paten, alosemonte baxen, hodega krate, gunakos androbulon, elpis don kear. Okay, I'm going to read it one last time like I really meant it. Like I was really the watchman standing on the tower in my pathetic fashion. Like I said, I wish I was Mark Griffith and could read this with like water running in a stream. But okay, so Deus ben aito ton dapalagen ponon, puras eteas mekos hein koimomenos, stegai satredon ankaten kunos deken. Astron katoida nupteron home guren, kai tus perontas ke ma kai peros prontois, lampus dunastas, emprepontas aiteri asteras, hotan tenosen antolas teton, kai nun pulaso lampados to sumbolon, augen peros perusan ektorias paten, alosemonte baxen, hodega krate, gunaikos androbulon elpis don kear. Okay, so any questions for my mystery interlocutor?
No.
Okay, so here we are, guys. Wonderful beginning of the poem. I don't know how long it'll take me to work up the next bit of it. I mean, I've worked it up to a good degree. So you please keep an eye on your post. And hopefully we'll get through the messenger speech, and then it will probably take me about 6 months to work through the first chorus. Chuckle, chuckle. Okay, guys. Let me cut out of here and say hello to you. Let you see me. Let you see beautiful me again. Hold on. Okay. Okay, beautiful me again. Let's see. Do you see me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Beautiful me. So everybody, thanks a lot. You know, here I am in Detroit trying to work these kiddies, teach these kiddos some Latin. Don't get much chance at all to read Greek seriously. So I really enjoy being able to present these little bits. And I enjoy, thanks to my mystery interlocutor and anyone else who might join us. So again, look forward to coming back and doing the next 10 lines or next 20 lines, because this went pretty quickly. Okay, everyone have a nice evening. Bye-bye from Detroit. Detroit Greek and Latin says good night. You're welcome. Bye-bye.